Hi, we're Timothy and Colleen Ingram, and you're watching Soul Care 360.
Welcome to the show. We are really excited about being back here at Soul Care 360. As you can see, Timothy is back with us, and that is wonderful. The other thing that we're very excited about is that we have new opportunities now. We are with Chapman Media Group. And Tim, I would say that that is growth for us, and I'm very excited about that. How do you feel?
Yes, the Lord is really blessing and expanding. I was thinking earlier when we first started bouncing around the concept of what we wanted to do in ministry, we had no idea that God would bring us this far.
Right.
So we're just excited about what God is doing and what He has yet to do with us.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. We really didn't see this one coming, but we are really thankful for the partnerships that we have and the people who have been instrumental in, making this happen for us. And so, as everyone knows, we are Soul Care 360, and we talk about how we take care of our souls, how we should take care of our souls, and how we should be able to acknowledge and how we should be able to look inward and want to move towards becoming made whole. And so we're at this point now where we can get this message out. And what we want to do is to make sure that we get this message out to everyone who is listening, everyone who thinks they want to listen, and everyone who that needs it. Share, because we have a lot that we want to discuss about soul care, about traumas, and things of that nature. So, are you ready?
And this is a real testament that it's never too late. You're never too old for your dreams and desires to come true. Because a lot of times we think when we have those desires and dreams in our 20s and 30s and 40 and 50 sneak up on us, that it might be too late, because we've had the dream for so long, and that it may never happen. But a lot of times God especially waits because there's a maturity process, because the experience that we have in our 20s are minimal, but when we hit 50 and pushing 60, there's a lot of experience that we have that we would not have had. So there's a lot of lessons and stories and issues that we've had to inquire that we can share that we would not have had in our 20s and 30s. So it's a blessing, or it's a blessing, and it's a real testament that never give up on your dream. Just because it doesn't happen when we think it should have, that it doesn't mean it's not going to. It could be that it's just not time.
Yeah, and I really can agree with you on that, it just not being time, because for me, I know had it been earlier or had, I've not gone through some of the things that I've gone through, I wouldn't be in a space where I am now, commanding that I am made whole, commanding, not demanding, but commanding that my behaviors and my mindset and my thoughts, they align themselves with a renewed mind. And so we're at an age now where we want to walk in that space, but not only we wanting to walk in that space, we want other people to experience what it feels like to have a renewed mind, to have a soul that is whole, and to have injuries and traumas to be addressed.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, when we were driving up here, I was thinking about asking you this one question, and it is so in line with what we just finished talking about the maturity aspect and where we are now in it. At what point in your life did you determine that enough was enough, and I need to make a concerted effort to deal with my issues?
Well, first, you have to realize that there is an issue. Because a lot of times we go through things and we feel like everybody else is the problem, and we don't see the issue that lies within us. So a lot of times those things get delayed because we don't see what the problem is, you know. And God has sent people to tell us, but if you don't believe you have an issue, there's no need to fix it, you know. But I realized at one point that I kept going around in a circle, that no matter how old I got, there was this circle that I would keep encountering. I kept going through the same things and the same issue. And at some point, I wanted it to stop because I wanted to go further. I wanted to go deeper. I had desires and aspirations, but I couldn't get past going through this circle, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was causing. You know, I would go to God and say, "Okay, God, I want more. I want to do more," but I didn't realize I was what was holding me back, and it wasn't everything else. And it wasn't until I was able to deal with those things and to face those issues that had happened in my past that I was able to resolve some things, see some things, resolve some things, most importantly, deal with some things that allowed me to go forward, because you can't take anybody further than you've been.
Ah, that's good. You can't.
You know, and once I was able to deal with those things and move on, then I could look back and see clearly the hang-ups that I had, the issues that I've had, and how I was able to get around them, and how I could have got around them earlier had I dealt with them. You know, because I used to pride myself in being able to internalize things, and I would always say my world could be crumbling and nobody would ever know it. But that's not a good thing.
Right.
I thought it was a great thing, a badge of honor.
Really?
That I could keep things inside and not let it slip out.
But why would you think that, though? Why would you think that was a badge of honor?
Because
seriously,
being able to hold things inside or keep it under control. But what was happening was I was not finding, I was not healing myself or allowing myself to get healed, because I was never letting out if there was anything wrong. Because I was purposely holding everything inside. I was never effectively getting the help that I needed. I could recognize the help that everybody else needed, but it was like I was recognizing the help that everybody else needed, but I wasn't taking time to find the help that I needed on my own.
Yeah, you know, that's really, it's kind of sobering for me, because this is the first time I've heard you say that you wore it as a badge of honor, and I think pride probably has something to do with that. And then maybe in addition to pride, maybe the thought that if I wear this mask, or if I am positioning myself in a place of being in control, then, you know, everybody's going to look up to me. Was that a consideration, or?
Well, I think it all started in the organization, the church that I grew up in. We were taught, and mind you, I was 10, 11 years old. So as I grew up or got into adulthood, that's all I knew.
Right.
And that's all I had been taught. So that's what I embraced, and that's how I encountered life. And we were taught that once we were saved and filled with the Holy Ghost, that was our solution. So I felt that if there was something else that was wrong, it was me. I had to be the problem, not considering that sometimes life happens.
Right.
You know, that we go through natural issues, our body change, we change, and it's all right to be an individual.
Right.
And as an individual, we have individual problems. We have individual challenges that is not necessarily that's not necessarily a problem, because we are humans.
Right.
And we're allowed to be human. You know, we think things sometimes that aren't right. We go through things. Sometimes we don't want to do things. But I was under the mindset that it was almost textbook, that things had to happen, and as long as God was pleased with me, that things were supposed to always work out. But what I didn't understand was sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes life happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get knocked off our feet, but I didn't understand what to do.
Okay, so your understanding of what to do when I get knocked off my feet was sort of like an indictment to you.
Right.
Like you had, you know, you missed the mark
Right.
because you got knocked off of your feet. And so what I hear is that you really did not have the leisure in your life to say, I'm feeling this way, I am experiencing this, what do I do next?
Right.
There was no pathway for you to ask for help. Because if you asked for help, then something was wrong with you.
Right.
There was no pathway for your healing, because what you did was you just
I
kept dumping it. Right, you
because
internalized it.
it was not supposed to happen. So if I was asking for help, it was admitting that something was wrong.
Yeah.
It was admitting that it wasn't textbook, that something was wrong, and in my eyes, I had fallen off the mark. So if I'm going, if at a young age, I wanted to minister, I had a desire to pastor, and those leaders that I saw around me were the gatekeepers of where I wanted to go. So if I showed them or showed signs that I was flawed, that I didn't have it all together, they wasn't going to open the gate to lead me, to let me in to what I wanted.
That is so loaded.
So that kept me hiding what was really going on, because I couldn't let the gatekeepers
know that you're a human being.
That I'm human.
Okay, so you've got these gatekeepers, you've got this whole mindset of this is what I want. You see, and you've always desired to have this. And so what you have actually done, you've said you've had a committee meeting in your mind, and that committee meeting or that meeting has said to you, this is what you have to do. You cannot allow them to see your humanity. You cannot allow them to see you as flawed. You cannot allow them to let you be human, because they may snatch this dream away from me.
Right.
But then there was no guarantee that you were going to be able to be fulfilled in that. They were going to give you that you desired to have. And so I just want to say right here, you said something that was so profound, and that was textbook. Okay, because a lot of times what happens is we think that we have to be a certain way to be effective. We have to not show emotions and not show our failures to be to have that I guess that glory of being a really good Christian, you know. And what that does, it trips us up a lot. But what I wanted to say is unresolved issues, unaddressed issues that you had going on the inside of you led to a lifetime of what? What would you say you lost in that space of I can't let them see because I want to be this pastor. You shared with me that you wanted this 100-voice choir. You shared with me that you had, your dream was to just be someone who really works for God. Not this stuff that you saw in the end, right, but really someone sold out to do the work for God. So with the people that you looked up to and the situations that you were in, right? What did it steal from you from the time of you knowing that this is what I want to be to the time that you made a decision, a conscious decision that something is wrong?
Well, those that grew up, we grew up together. They would tell you that from an early age, I've always talked about pastoring this big church in Chicago, and I wanted a 100-voice choir sitting behind me, and I had it all figured out in what I wanted to be in God, and I thought it was Him. I thought it was Him that had given me the desire, and I had a clear pathway of how I got there, or I didn't. I knew what I wanted. I didn't know how I was to get there. And I was depending on the leaders that I had to get me where they were or where I thought they were. And you have to remember, we're talking an early teenager, that this is all I knew. You know, from 10, 11 years old, I'm 16, and I had devoted all of my time and energy into this organization, and it was all I knew. It was all I knew. It was all I had been exposed to. It was my everything. And I had put all of my eggs in that basket.
That sounds like idolatry too.
Yeah. I had put all of my eggs in this basket, and I thought it would all work out, because if I given it my all, there was no way for it not to work out. But then as I began to grow older and have my own questions, things started to turn, because sometimes things, or looking at things, they just didn't add up. And I began to see things, I began to question things, and that caused things to turn for me. And at some point, I knew I had to get away, or I knew that this wasn't for me, because again, life happens. And as things began to happen that I didn't know, I didn't have the answers for. Situations began to happen that I didn't have the answers for, meaning that if everything was supposed to be textbook, if God is pleased with me, I've given him my all, then all of this other stuff was supposed to happen. But nobody had prepared me for when it did not happen. And because I had thought that, because I thought that it was supposed to, I had the answer. I had the answers for it. I had the answers for what or how it was supposed to be. But when things started happening that wasn't according to what I saw, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to adjust it. I didn't know who to go to. When I started having those natural desire that young boys have, you know, your body's changing. You are the girls are starting to become more part of your mindset, because
and they're not your sisters in Christ anymore. Now you want to get with them.
And it was no room for that. So I didn't know what to do but to keep it to myself, because I can't tell nobody what I'm going through, because I don't know it's human.
Oh my God. You know, you didn't know it was human.
I didn't know it was human, because it wasn't supposed to happen this way. So who do I talk to?
Damn. Listen at what you're saying. And you know, that is, let me tell you how sad that makes me. It makes me sad because there are still people right now who are under the thumbs of people who will not allow them to be human, who will not tell them who will not tell them that what they're feeling and what they are going through is natural. Well, let me tell you how to get through those particular things. That is really, really sad to me to hear that. But the question was, from that time, what did you lose?
Well, my youth. I have no high school. Those I wanted to be in the marching band. One of my desires, I wanted to be the first black conductor of the Charlotte Symphony. Well, to get there, I needed to be in the marching band, so that I could try to get a scholarship for music. Well, I couldn't be in the marching band because we didn't associate ourselves with everybody. So I couldn't go to the football games. I couldn't go live that life. So it took my youth. On Saturdays, I was devoted to going out witnessing. So on the weekends, I was knocking on doors, passing out flyers and tracts, trying to bring people in. Oh, excuse me. And I drove for my pastor. So he was a district elder. So we had churches in South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and we were the church in North Carolina. So on the weekends, he had to travel, and I drove for him.
You know, to me, that's robbery. And a lot of times in here, there's no, like I said, indictment to anyone in particular. However, it's robbery that your youth was stolen in that manner. But I think God honors your intent because your intentions were to do good. Your intent was to live for Him. And so even though your youth was sort of denied in that manner, I think you and I both are at a point where we are saying that God has actually and is actually redeeming our time, because we are now walking and living in a space of wholeness and a space of being fulfilled in a lot of different areas of our lives. But when you said your youth, that really hit me hard. That kind of hit me in the gut really hard.
And one thing that I realize now that I didn't have the ability to understand then is I had given myself to an organization and not necessarily to God.
Absolutely.
And that was where the problem was. I had brought hook, line, and sinker with what the organization stood for, what they taught, and that's not necessarily what was pleasing God.
Right.
I just thought it was.
Right.
So I thought that if I gave the organization 100%, that would please God and that would give me access to everything I wanted.
Yes, but listen at what you're saying, right? You're saying this thing that you gave 100% to the organization. So I think two things. I think some of it is by design, that organizations create clones in that manner. I think it's by design, and I also think it's also by default, because sometimes the people who are heading these organizations, whatever these organizations may be, they are not well. They are not whole. They have unrealized traumas and injuries, and they were not shown the way. And so they come up scratching, fighting, biting, trying to keep what little power they think that they have over people because someone had power over them.
So what happened, I wanted to be just like my pastor. He was my hero. That's all he knew. Him and his wife married in their teenagers, and part of this same organization. So that's all they knew. And I was going down the same path. And I saw he gave his life to the organization. Now he's this big leader in the organization. I wanted the same thing. And I thought if I went down the same path, pleasing God, that he would do the same for me. But as I got older and I started seeing that these aren't super Christians, they're human, they're flawed just like we are, but that's not what I saw. I saw and thought that they were above, that they were these super spiritually, super gifted people.
Right.
And I was trying to get there. And as I got older and started to see the inner workings of the organization and started to see that they were flawed people. They did have issues. They did have bad days and made mistakes. And as I started to question and wanted to move on from this organization, it became I knew nothing else. So now I'm late 20s, early 30s, wanting to move away from this organization that I've been from since I was 10, 11, and didn't know what to do, where else to go. Didn't know who else to trust, because we have been taught, why not Baptist? Why not Catholic? Meaning, why we ought not to be Baptist, Catholic, Presbyterian, not all these other organizations, and I didn't know what to do. So it left me sort of out there all by myself and feeling that if I had done something wrong, God was mad at me, but I didn't know how long was God going to be mad at me, because the pastor in the organization was the one that told us, you got into something. The pastor said, okay, well, we're going to pull you off of everything for us until God tells me you're ready. So now that I'm not in the organization, I have nobody to tell me when God is not going to be mad at me no more. So I'm just out there like, I don't know what else to do or how to do this, because this is all I knew.
So this whole organization, and believe me, they are all over the world. And I'm not talking specifically about your organization. I'm talking about family members. I'm talking about organizations that we are a part of in terms of our spiritual lives, in terms of our academic lives, and all of these different areas in life that we have. We can be loyal to a fault.
So until next time, you be blessed. We're praying for you all. And please pray for us that God will allow us to be the blessing in somebody's life.